I'm looking at it.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the sidewalk.
No.
So we're cutting spaces, it's down, it's very slim.
Makes it easier.
Right off the bat.
Yeah.
Bless you. Did you get this? I sent it to you. Maybe I just discount, I didn't want to say discount. No, because I didn't print it, that's what I'm talking. No, just keep it. I put a black and white label. No, I just put it on the card. I don't really think the card, really scary. To print it on the card is really. But it's fine, you got it. No problem, I didn't know whether you got, well, you didn't straight it back to me, so I was pretty sure.
And they can trade out.
And I just said, but that's okay, don't worry about it. I got it.
It's
the first time.
That's.
I said, to you, I spelled your name.
Scary second time.
And I guess I was thinking, they
didn't know it was
her. So then I don't hear any more about it. So then I fixed that. You should have went. That don't mean, don't mean, it doesn't, it comes to computer, it's my fault. I did.
We're just killing time till 5:30.
We did it, 2 weeks ago.
We're not killing much time.
Well, they did it last week, the three of them, they didn't have the data. And last weekend, we went to do the Iowa Open, but he didn't play. Remember, seeing all day Friday night, the part of Saturday, because all the production.
It's amazing is the ones when I see one, when you see a person that struggle for this master.
Yeah. That is over.
Call the meeting in order. Would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Celeste, would you take the roll?
Marshall,
Here.
Walker,
Here.
Mahoney. Here. Matlick,
Here.
Dade, Andrews,
Here.
Van Burkham,
Here.
Bryant,
Here.
Greenwald,
Here.
8 present, 1 absent.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is the mayor's report, and I'm going to skip that today. So then we're up to citizens' request. Is there someone from the group that would like to speak? If you'd speak to the, come to the microphone, kind of bring the microphone into you, speak loud, give us your name and your address, and then we've got like 3 minutes, so.
Okay. Teresa Murray. I live at 15 Hilton Road Lane, Keokuk, but I'm also here tonight as president of the Keokuk Saddle Club. I did give everybody a handout. I hope you all got one. But I'm just basically going to read it, and if anybody has any questions or the Saddle Club signed a lease on 5 acres in Joyce Park in August of 2017. Since that time, we have constructed a 130 by 250 foot arena along with several other improvements to the property. We proudly held our grand opening on June 1st, 2024. According to the terms of our lease, we are required to obtain approval from the city council before construction on an accessory building. The club is requesting permission to build a 32 by 40 metal building with an attached 8 by 40 porch. The building, we're also calling it an office building, will be used during events for participants to for registration and a workspace for the announcer and bookkeeper. The structure will include a concrete floor, interior metal walls, electricity, a bathroom, and heating and air. We have spoken with Donnie Lewis regarding the installation of a septic system, and he indicated that would not be a problem. He's also consulted with the health department, which is responsible for approving septic system installations. The Hellman-Lee County Impact Grant application for up to $100,000 is currently open and will close on April 6th. The Saddle Club has been actively saving funds towards the construction of our new building. While we have made good progress, we do not yet have the full amount needed to complete the project. At this time, I'm requesting preliminary approval from the council to move forward with submitting grants, because I need to have preliminary approval from the council so that we can move forward with applying for that grant. In 2024, the City Council approved the club's request to build a 24 by 32 gravel floor cold storage building to house the club tractor, arena tool, mower, water trailer, rock hand, and this building has been completed. The club has recently installed a water line with 2 water hydrants, which I handed out, I think, just a few pictures you might have to share. Trying to show you what exactly a water hydrant, what we installed, what it actually looks like. And there's 2 of them. The one has like a fence around it, because that's one that the exhibitors will use with their horses, and you don't want a horse tied to a water hydrant. So we built a fence around it. The other one is more up by, at the edge of the driveway that we'll use to fill the water trailer. Let me go back on my paper here. During our events, to fill our water trailer used to maintain proper moisture in the arena to control the dust and adequate footing. We received permission from the Joyce Park Commission to install this line. Due to the cost of running a separate line, we contacted the Keokuk School Board to request permission to connect to the existing water line at the ball fields. They granted us permission to do so. There has been a question raised regarding installation of a fire hydrant at the back of Joyce Park. We respectfully request that the city not require the Saddle Club to delay construction of the accessory building until a fire hydrant can be installed. In the event of a fire at our location, a mutual aid call could be made with Jackson Township Fire Department. The cost of installing a fire hydrant is not financially feasible for the club. In most cases, private property owners or nonprofit organizations are not responsible for installation of fire hydrants. For these reasons, we ask the City Council to approve our request to construct the accessory building as described. We also would like the council to keep in mind that the club has not requested any financial assistance from the city for the Saddle Club projects. All funding from these improvements has come from donations, community fundraising efforts, and private grants, not government grants. And to date, we're just under $80,000 that we've gotten from local private grants that the club has received. Additional uses for this accessory building is when the Keokuk High School started the FFA program, the Saddle Club recognized that the arena would be an excellent location for their agricultural education events. The club contacted KHS teacher Brady Martin and offered the arena grounds for the program's use. On May 8th, 2025, the KHS FFA students hosted their first annual Ag Day at the Saddle Club grounds. The event was very successful and well attended, with 160 first grade students participating. The second annual Ag Day is scheduled to take place this year on May 8th. The Saddle Club also hosts educational clinics for tri-state area 4-H members. And one thing I'd like to point out, and maybe a lot of you don't know, for years, Keokuk did not have a 4-H group, a local group. There is a new 4-H group here in Keokuk now. I think maybe 2 or 3 years it's been going now. So we've held some clinics for them. Participants shared that they learned valuable skills and felt more confident and better prepared to show at the county fairs and state fairs. Another clinic is currently being planned for this summer. All our events at the arena are free to the public. We've got bleachers, and most of the time we have food trucks. It's creating a welcoming community atmosphere. Thank you for your time and consideration, and I put my number on the letter if anybody's got any questions, additional questions. That's all I have.
Thank you, Teresa.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, I think, and you probably understand, because it wasn't on the agenda, we can't do anything with that tonight, so.
Yeah.
um,
And we can stay for the workshop.
We don't have a workshop,
Oh, okay.
do we? No, we don't have a workshop tonight, so we can get it on the next agenda though, so. And that's just what the rules,
Yeah, sure.
not on the
Okay.
agenda, can't do it, so.
I hadn't come, I hadn't come prior to, Pam and I, we were had a meeting, but my you guys had your hands full during budget time. So I really didn't want to bother you during all them. I mean, watched a lot of them on TV. So that's the main reason I'm just now we're coming here. So
We appreciate what you're doing. So, all right, moving on. Consent agenda.
Okay.
Can we get that on April 2nd?
Yeah. Yep.
And one more. Can we ask for that to be like a resolution? I think Pam and I had talked about that. So.
Whatever we need to do, we'll get
Okay.
done on that.
Yep.
I'm the wrong guy to ask about resolutions and ordinances and everything, but
That's
there's a whole procedure of which I'm learning, and
Sure, sure.
and Pam knows the procedure and Jim knows the
Right.
procedure. So whatever we need to do for our next step,
Okay.
we'll work on getting that next step taken care of.
And I do have to just let you know, as an FYI, as this comes forward, I assume that the fire chief will want to speak on this topic as well when we get to address it. So,
So
Which is not tonight.
I understand that, but I think the real question is it county property or is it ours? I mean, if it's county property, then Jackson Township can go to respond to the fire too. So I think we need some clarification from the lawyers or something on it.
Pam will take care of it. Thank you. All right, consent agenda. We got the minutes of the regular council meeting of March 5th, cash receipts and treasurer's report for February, resolution to approve submittal of FAA IIJA number 03190050 to 028-2026 and FAA AIP number 03190050-029-2026 grant application. Resolution approving a liquor license for Angelina's Pizza, 1016 Main Street, a Class C retail alcohol license. Resolution approving a liquor license for the Elks Lodge, 2200 Lincoln Avenue, Class F retail alcohol license. Resolution approving a liquor license for Hy-Vee Fast and Fresh, 3001 Main Street, Class B retail alcohol license, and a motion to pay bills and transfers listed in register numbers 5529 to 5531. I need a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Item number 7 is now is the time and place for a public hearing for the Keokuk Municipal Airport Taxiway A&D Lighting Project. A public hearing notice was published in the Daily Gate City on March 12th, 2026. I'm opening the public hearing for this at 5:40 p.m. Are there any comments from the public on the lighting project? Celeste, were there any written comments or objections? Anything from council? Jim, do you need to?
Brian, you want to give an overview of what's going on with this?
As well as I can. The taxiway lighting project is something that was approved in the 5-year capital plan for the airport last summer. I can't remember the exact date. So the resolution that was just approved in the consent agenda is the approval to apply for the grants related to this project. And we're just required to have a public hearing accepting the plans and the bid date for the project, which was presented in last meeting's packet. Then as soon as the public hearing is closed, we will consider the resolution for approving the contract with the contractor.
Any other comments?
This is 95% federally funded for this project, is that correct?
Yes.
Is that why there's two, is it two separate ones? Because it's 90% for the one and 5% for the other?
The paperwork they gave me for this one just said 95%.
I think you have two separate grant awards, one for the 90% and one for the 5 to get to the 95 tradition. Typically, in the past, it's been 90% and it'll
Right.
revert back to that as time goes on. But right now, we're able to get, fairly significant outside funding for this lighting project on the taxiway. And this is what, well under bid, estimated bid?
Yes, we came in under bid, or under the engineer's estimate.
Yeah, say that correctly. Local match on this project has been budgeted in the FY27 budget. It will come out of local option sales tax, the infrastructure portion.
Just waiting on comments and questions. Hearing no more, I'll close the public hearing at 5:43. Which gets us to consider a resolution approving a contract to reconstruct taxiway A&D lighting at the Keokuk Municipal Airport. This is the resolution. We need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Other discussion?
McClure Engineering has reviewed the bids that were received on March 11th for the taxiway A&D lighting project. A total of 3 bids were received. The lowest responsive and responsible bidder was Voltmore Incorporated of Decorah, Iowa. With all the necessary bid requirements being met, McClure recommends the contract in the amount of $584,026.35 be awarded to Voltmore Incorporated. The local match for construction services is $29,201.32. Contingent upon the release of the federal airport improvement program funding covering the 95% of eligible project costs.
More comments or questions? It's been moved and seconded. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Number 8 is consider a resolution approving task order number 2 for administration and closeout of taxiway A&D lighting project at the Keokuk Municipal Airport. Need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second. Discussion.
On October 26, 2025, the city of Keokuk tasked McClure Engineering Company with performing design and bidding services for the taxiway A&D lighting project. The project has now been designed and bid. Professional construction administration and grant closeout services are required to complete the project and satisfy the requirements of the FAA grants. McClure Engineering Company has submitted an engineering construction services agreement for the following services. At cost plus fixed fee for construction administration, $81,512. Grant closeout services, $14,760. Total agreement amount is $96,272. The local match for construction administration services is $4,814, contingent upon the release of federal airport improvement program funding covering 95% of the eligible project costs.
Thank you, Brian.
Looking in the original project cost summary, the construction admin observation was at the 53,000, which is quite a bit below, but is that different from the electrical subconsultant? Is that included in this agreement?
This agreement would just be for McClure to do the oversight.
Yeah, the construction administration observation and then grant closeout. And that overall category in the budget, the original budget was 103,000, but there was 27,000 set aside for electrical subconsultant. I was wondering if that was done outside of this or that was incorporated within it.
I'd have to ask them.
I should have asked you beforehand, but
I don't have that document with me. So I'd have to ask McClure. I would, if they needed that service, I would hope they would have included it.
I was just kind of curious because,
And if they didn't include it, we'll have to do an amendment.
okay. It's all, I mean, it's included within the overall grant agreement, so it's all okay. It's just, I was just wondering curious where it fit against what their estimate was at the beginning.
Other comments or questions? Motion on the floor. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Number 9 on the agenda, consider a resolution approving a fee schedule increase for the Rand Park Pavilion. Need a motion and a second?
I'll move.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? Who's got this one?
Me again.
You're back on.
Yeah. The Ram Park Pavilion Commission would like to increase their rental fees. The fees have not changed since the inception of the pavilion in 2009. The commission proposes the following change to the fee schedule to rent the Ram Park Pavilion. Eliminate the facility manager fees option as this has never been used. Eliminate the additional power option as the power is adequate. Increase nonprofit rentals from $50 per time frame to $75 per time frame, and increase all-day rentals from $150 to $200 per day. Increase wedding rental fees from $60 per time frame to $100 per time frame. Increase the 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. time frame from $100 to $150, and the all-day fee from $200 to $250. Increase for-profit rentals from $75 per time frame to $150 per time frame. Increase the 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. time frame from $150 to $175, and the all-day rental fee from $300 to $400. All deposits will remain the same. A time frame is 5-hour intervals, i.e. 7 a.m. to noon or noon to 5 p.m.
So that's what the commission is recommending. Is there other discussion? Motion on the floor. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Number 10 is to consider a resolution approving the repair portion of a portion of an alley between 4th and 5th Street and Main and Blondo. Need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Those in favor, or excuse me, discussion?
Staff is requesting approval to
Okay.
award the contract for the alley pavement replacement project located at the easterly end of the alley between 4th Street and 5th Street, between Main Street and Blondo Street. The project involves replacing approximately 110 linear feet of alley pavement at the easterly end of the alley located between 4th and 5th and Main and Blondo. The existing alley surface has deteriorated and requires replacement to improve access, drainage, and maintain the alley infrastructure. 2 bids were received in the fall of 2025 for the projects. Jones Contracting submitted a bid in the amount of $37,750, and Hickey Contracted submitted a bid in the amount of $32,000. The cost of the project will be shared between the Keokuk Waterworks in the amount of $5,000 and Kevin Kuckelman, owner of Hotel Iowa, in the amount of $5,000, and the city would be responsible for the remaining balance of $22,000. We recommend awarding the project to Hickey Contracting of Keokuk, Iowa, in the amount of $32,000.
Questions, comments from the council? Jim, anything else?
This was one that we've had some presentations in the past from Kevin to have this project occur. It was not on Brian's radar for in order of things that need done in the community, but where you have a couple of entities that are willing to cost share on something that makes a lot of sense to get a problem area addressed and taken care of.
No other discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Number 11 is consider a resolution accepting the annual financial audit report for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2025. Need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Who's got this one, Jim?
We didn't really talk about this. I'm used to having an auditor who comes and makes a presentation for these things, but I don't think that's been, my understanding is that has not been the track record here or the process that's been done here in the past. But if you, enclosed in your packet is the audit for the full fiscal year. One of the things that I saw in here that I'd never seen before in any of the towns I've been in, and we talked about it on the radio this morning, they talk in the independent auditors report, they have one of their summary of opinions is an adverse opinion, and that has to do with the aggregate discretely presented component units. I talked with my former accountant up in Burlington just to ask her, what in the world does this mean? And it really has to do with the fact that we're operating on a cash basis and the water department operates on an accrual basis. And when you have two different accounting systems, you cannot mesh the two together into one final report. So there's no way to incorporate their accounting into what we are presenting because we're under two completely different systems. Both receive an audit. Both are audited and are go through the process of making sure that they're using appropriate processes to account for their expenditures, but you can't mesh them into one final document. And that's really the basis of what this finding is. They do mention also the library foundation. I haven't seen a library foundation get noted as part of a audit in any of the other towns I've been in, but since they, as a 501c3 that operates separately from us, but since they are there solely for the city's purposes, unless they have their books audited and are incorporated within us, they call that an adverse finding as well, because we're not accounting for their funds. I would argue that from a practical standpoint, they're doing things independently of us. So that finding, I think that you need to understand it, that it's there, but it's not a consequential one in terms of what our accounting books say. One of the other things that I would note, well, we talked about on the air too this morning, the basis of accounting. They make note that it's not under generally accepted accounting principles, GAAP principles, because we do operate on a cash basis. The majority of small towns operate on a cash basis. So smaller communities are almost always going to have that notation in their audit report, and it's been a consistent thing that you've seen year after year here. The same as that adverse note about component units has been there annually in the audit, because that's been an ongoing thing. One thing that I would note that is a significant thing that needs to be addressed moving forward. Last year when the budget amendment was done, it was not done high enough to account for all expenditures, and my assumption is one of the items was probably the purchase of the fire truck that put public safety over. So we saw numbers that were over in public safety, public works, and I think debt service above and beyond what we had noted to the public that we would expend in those areas in an official budget document. And that shouldn't happen. We should get a budget amendment that is high enough to keep that from occurring, and that's something that we need to work on further, as you know, or in the future. Part of the audit report, with that being one of the audit findings, and I think that was noted back on schedule of findings for the year end 2023. It's on page 54 of the audit itself. Our response was that we will ensure that we budget high enough in those categories in the future. With that being said, we will be doing a budget amendment this year. The last time that you can get a budget amendment done is in May, so we'll have to be getting that processed fairly soon. And when a budget amendment is done, one of the things that we are looking at doing is we need to make sure that we put forward numbers for expenditure by category, because that's how the state wants to see it, by category, whether it's public safety or public works or community development, that we have a figure that exceeds what we actually spend. We want to be intentionally high on what we say we are going to spend in those budget amendments. It doesn't mean that we plan on spending that amount, but when we do that amendment, we want to make sure that we don't have an audit finding, that we give a number that is somewhat realistic, but is on the high side for every category. So if that kind of makes sense. And that just didn't happen this last year, and we need to make sure it does in the future. Other than that, I would certainly entertain any questions. There's points in here that talk about what our existing debt is. Our existing debt is about 28 million. 18 million of that is general obligation, subject to the full faith and credit of the city. The other 9 is revenue debt. We are allowed to have up to 38 million of general obligation debt. And the state is very particular about their categories. The 38 million is, they look at the property valuation of the city overall and say 5% of a certain figure based off of that 38 million is a maximum general obligation debt you can have incurred at any fiscal year end. We're well under that at the 28 million, or at the 18 million mark. I'm not sure if some of that was ever transferred over to revenue, from revenue debt to GO. I'd want to make sure on that, whether it's not a higher figure. But, well, the 4 million SRF, I think, got transferred over to or 2.4 million got transferred over from SRF to GO. So we are still, regardless, well under the figures that they're concerned about. And as you look at expenditures by category, the variations that occurred from year to year, I think the major things that popped up and were pointed out, public safety was significantly higher, but it really had to do with replacing fire trucks. When you spend that much money on new fire trucks in a given year, it does change the dynamics of what you spend overall for a budget category. And then 18th Street really significantly increased what our capital expenditure line item from the previous year. Otherwise, most of the other expenditures were pretty typical and about the same as what they had been in previous years. Any other questions on it? I am not an auditor, but I can try to go through some of the other stuff if you would like me to.
Highlights.
Right to. And then, yeah, if you look through it and you have any questions or concerns, you can certainly ask as well.
There's no other comments or questions. There's a resolution to accept the audit report. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. Brings us to number 12. Consider a resolution approving professional services agreement with Eocene Environmental Group for Environmental Protection Agency Brownfield Cleanup Grant number 96722-701. Need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Who's got this one, Jim?
Sure. This is for the final area, the farthest, is that south? Southern parcel of the property. It'll be the third portion. We have used Eocene for the engineering services for the first two portions of the site cleanup to do the engineering management, construction management. And we went through a competitive bid process on this. We had a few firms that were interested, only Eocene submitted. And probably because, I mean, other firms know who did the first two, and that probably had an impact over who did submit. But they did, they've done a good job in terms of doing we had to use still a standardized scoring criteria to evaluate them. They come across very well on that. We have had, Pam and I guess would probably say we've had a couple of issues just in terms of some of the documents that we'd like to see, but in terms of doing the environmental side and the management on it, they've done very well. The contract that's being presented for approval is based on what the original budget was within the contract or the grant funds that we received from the EPA. They have a scope of work outlined, and then they break out the $2 million grant amount into various categories. Actually, what we have here that's for the services that Eocene is going to provide and the amount that they're asking, significant amount, $395,000, but it's actually a little lower than what was in the work plan from EPA to go towards this category. As we talked about this internally and then with Southeast Iowa Regional Planning Council, the recommendation was to move forward with using them on the final stage as well.
All right. Any comments?
And just let the public know that's for a Midwest Carbide property, if anybody didn't know that.
Anything else? There's a motion on the floor to approve the professional services agreement. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Number 13 is consider a resolution approving termination of the franchise fee rebate. I'm sure this is you, Jim. We need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Discussion.
When the franchise fee was originally put in place back in 2023, implemented the gas side at 2%, and then did the electric side at 3%. At that point, part of the discussion that was had, I guess I wasn't here, so I don't know all the dynamics of how that went about, but there was a determination, a decision ultimately by the council as part of putting this in place to have a franchise fee rebate up for the electric portion of these franchise fees for major industrial users. We only have a handful that qualify for this, and the rebate amount that they're eligible to receive is the same exemption that they receive off of their sales tax from the state of 1.5% or half of our current franchise fee amount, the 3%. That program has some specific rules for how it needs to be followed. For industries who are submitting, they can submit monthly, quarterly, annually, I think might be one of the ways they can do. But the language does say that they are supposed to submit for bills that they receive during our fiscal year, July 1 to June 30th. So the first 11 months, they have to have submitted into us by the end of June of that fiscal year. Our current program allows the June bill to be submitted within 30 days of the end of the fiscal year in July. As we went through the budget process and talked about how to get to a balanced budget, and this having the consideration of the franchise fee being the rebate being eliminated being one of the components that the council ultimately decided on, we needed to get a resolution to you to do that. It's effective with the budget year, not sooner. But it also does still, the way this resolution is written, it allows businesses to still get credit for their June bill in the current year, do that rebate in the following fiscal year, even though we're not budgeting for that expenditure to occur. It's going to end up occurring because we're going to have a few industries that, if they follow through on this, will be submitting for rebate in the next fiscal year. I think it makes sense to do that, just based off of, it's how the policy is written, and it gives them full credit for the existing fiscal year. If you want to adjust it, you certainly can, but I think this gives them credit at least for that. It's going to be a major hardship for a couple of these industries to lose this rebate. So I think having at least a little bit there is beneficial to them, but still being cognizant of the fact we're going to go down significantly in our cash position this next year.
I know with one of the industries, they were confused about when we were going to start this. And like Jim said, it starts our fiscal year, which would be July 1st. But the increase that we're doing won't happen until the beginning of next year, around March or so, by the time we start receiving that money. And so I think that the industry thought that they were married together, that they would get the rebate up until next year, but that's not the case because we did our budgets from July 1st on. So I apologize for that confusion that the industry had, but this is the policy that we put in place.
Other comments? Hearing none, there's motion on the floor to approve the termination of the franchise fee rebate. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Number 14 is to consider a resolution rescinding resolution number 42-2026 due to the Keokuk Neighborhood Initiative determining not to develop on the lot, a procedural error, and the need to comply with applicable public bidding requirements. So we need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Who's got an explanation?
The council adopted the resolution on February 19th. K&I owns the remaining property on that side of the street, and they did want the lot. 2x4s for Hope actually wants the lot across the street, but we're going through a right of redemption period, and it takes like 90 days at least to go through that period. So we were thinking that they could use this lot. Well, once they actually went and visited the lot and had a better look, there's too much of a grade. There's quite a few stairs that go up to the property. So mowing and stuff maybe not be the best thing for this area. So in turn, this area is in an urban renewal area, and you can actually do a development agreement with a party, a developer, but the city council does have to have a finding of fact for how they came to the market value, the fair market value of the property, and you also have to have the public notice in the paper 30 days, so everybody knows the intent that you're doing the contract. So we're just gonna, if we can get this rescinded, we will go ahead and put this, K&I, they're not planning on building in this area. They don't have the plans to build, so we don't want to do a development agreement with them. They will bid on the property. They said if they get it, they get it. If they don't, they don't. So hopefully our next meeting, we'll have this among some other lots to do a public hearing on for the sale of some properties, bidding. We won't have to go through this process, but because we're going to bid them out.
The process we used the first time through was not done correctly. They had a
Correct,
couple of
yeah.
procedural errors with
There's-
it,
yeah.
but they also changed their mind on how they want to use it. So it changed our ability to even use the process we were using.
Correct.
So we'll start over. And
Start fresh.
you have a few other lots that you're looking to get rid of too. So we'll
Yes.
do all of those through probably just a straight public bid process.
I believe all the vacant lots will do a straight bid process. I kind of wish I would have done we do have a house over on Timea Street that's not in terrible condition. It's going to need quite a bit. We could actually have it appraised. We could just put it up for sale with a realtor. However, the council wishes me to do it, or we can just do a bid process and, have some language in there as far as development goes on it. But I do need to get that one, something done with it here before too long.
Pam, does the city own the lots, there's a building that needs to be torn down and an empty lot there between 10th and 11th on Blondo? There where Shirley Hendricksmeyer lives on that block?
What was the question, Kathy?
Do we own that building and that needs to come down, and do we own that lot next to it?
We already took that down, 1012 Blondo.
Uh-huh. And do we
And-
own the lot next to it?
That's on one of these right of redemptions.
Okay, all right.
So we've got 3 properties. That one, 128 North 7th is where the 2x4s would like to build. And then there is another one on Concert Street. I think it's 7th something Concert Street, which is behind the ones that Kay and I own.
Thanks.
Other comments or questions on this? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Up to item 15, consider a resolution accepting a demolition bid and authorizing the mayor to sign demolition contract for 405 Morgan Street. Need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
405 Morgan Street, the city obtained it as a abandoned building. The owner walked away after there was a fire in the structure. There was actually, it's what they call a conversion, 7 unit conversion or apartments. The house next door, someone did take and did some work to, and this house and that house, the eaves are practically touching. So we're thinking that instead of trying to, and the city did also obtain or get $10,000 toward the demolition of this property from the bank. The owner didn't have insurance on it, but the bank did. And they went ahead and submitted $10,000 toward the demolition. So what we'd like to do is just go ahead and take it down and then have the bid put up as just for somebody to have a larger lot. High bid on that one was $39,000 and the low bid was $18,670
For the demolition.
for the demolition. Yes, sir.
Further discussion? Questions for Pam? Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Council liaison reports. Anybody, Mike, want to give one on public safety?
Yep, I've got one. We had a public safety committee meeting yesterday, and so I'm just going to review the minutes from that meeting. They have been submitted to Celeste, so if anybody wants a copy emailed, you can reach out either to myself or Celeste for them. The purpose of the meeting was to outline the various forms of fire department staffing methods that exist in the state of Iowa. There were 4 that were identified at this meeting. Those are public safety officers, volunteer fire departments, combination fire departments, and career fire departments. Keokuk is a career fire department structure. Assistant Police Chief Andy Whitaker spoke first about public safety officers. In this setup, it is a consolidation of police and fire departments into one unit that covers both. In our case, it could create scheduling and staffing challenges, as well as prolonged training issues. And in the state of Iowa, Cedar Falls is the only city with this format, and for them, it has been problematic. Jason Dinwiddie with Lee County Emergency Management Systems spoke next about the structure of volunteer firefighters. He was also the chief of the Montrose volunteer system for several years. In a volunteer system, there's still required training and certification as well as annual physicals of the volunteers. Very few volunteers meet these requirements or maintain their training. Many volunteer systems stretch the rules to ensure that they still are able to maintain a volunteer base that is needed for services. The Keokuk Fire Department does currently have access to call in the volunteer systems that are in our surrounding areas when needed. And for volunteers, they have an average respond to call rate of approximately 25 to 60%, with the majority being close to 30% of the time if they will respond to a volunteer call or not. Local systems automatically send mutual aid calls, knowing beforehand that they will not get enough members to show up when needed when there's a fire. And on average, 1 to 4 people show up per call, and that includes the mutual aid call. The city or the association is still required to cover insurance costs and training costs. Jason Dinwiddie then also spoke about Lee County EMS with the ambulance system. There's 3 stations in the county with 4 total ambulances. And with the current structure of Lee County EMS, it does rely heavily upon the Fort Madison and the Keokuk Fire Department's assistance to maintain their status. Next, Fort Madison Fire Chief Chad Hannum spoke about a combination fire structure. Fort Madison did attempt to switch to this system back in 2006, 2007. The city's goal was to see how things would go for approximately 2 years and then make a informed decision at that point. They only had 4 applicants and only 1 who passed the initial testing. That system was scrapped before implemented due to a lack of volunteers. It would not have been able to have responded to a single call. Reliability of volunteers in the fire department must be a focal point in any structure, and maintaining department standards with volunteers also needs to be taken into consideration. A change in model will have a change in response time, number of people on scene, and the skill and ability levels of those that are on scene. Industry in our area demands a greater response level, and also insurance ratings can be impacted by any change in our fire department structure, and that does extend to residential, commercial, and industrial insurance policies. Community risk analysis should be carried out before any changes are made. There are also various conversations about training and equipment costs. Most costs do not change in a volunteer versus an employee to respond to a fire call. Also of note, there will be a Lee County Supervisors meeting March 24th. Their topics are going to be pending legislature at the state level that could impact townships, and that could also then impact police and fire requirements at the county level. So just something to keep on the radar. It would not directly impact us because the way that is currently written, it's for populations of 6,000 or lower, but it could impact us in a sense of if the county has to change to a different system, what impact does that have, like on the way we work with the current volunteer systems and some other things? So it could just be a domino piece that falls and starts other things that are unrealized yet at this time. And so that's the rundown of the public safety meeting that we had yesterday. It was not a meeting intended to make decisions about the future of the fire department. It was just a fact-finding mission so that we have a baseline understanding of what options even exist out there today.
What's next?
I do not have an answer for what is next at this point in time. We will wait and see what plays out with the state legislature, and we'll have continuing conversations internally with our chiefs as more things become realized and known with the budget moving forward.
Any other comments or questions from great report, Mike? Thank you. Any other council liaison reports? Staff reports? Anything, Andy?
Jim, was you going to speak about Elcom Carbide at all?
Go ahead.
Okay. Jim and I, staff from EOC and Regional Planning, there was a pre-bid walkthrough on Tuesday morning. We had a really good turnout, I think, for our contractors. Jim, do you remember the number of
16 or 18.
16 different companies were there? We even had somebody fly in from South Carolina. So we had a really good turnout. So hopefully we'll get some great bids back for the demolition and soil remediation of the parcel 1 and auditor's parcel D. So hope those buildings will be coming down. And then we have the building along the front. It's a really long metal building. That is an alternate. It was not actually in the work plan. So that's an alternate in the bid, and we're hoping that that'll fall within our scope.
Yeah, and we've talked about this building. It is the main thing that you see when you look at that site. We want to get that building taken down if at all possible. And depending on where that alternate, along with the rest of the bid package, comes in, compared to the budget, if it ends up being over budget, the council I think needs to consider whether we are willing to put some funds into getting that demoed as part of this whole project to get that lot really clear and ready to be redeveloped and used again. Having that there as the main thing that you see is not really conducive to redevelopment. And part of getting the budget to where it works is we're going up to Great River tomorrow. We'll be visiting you, having a discussion about whether we can get at least a little bit of forgiveness on what that fee level is for the construction debris. Especially for that front lot, because that's where we're the tightest on, where they feel that we're going to be the tightest.
And I also reached out to a couple metal recycling individuals and gave them the bidders list in hopes that they would, contact them, because a lot of that building is actually metal and steel. So and then several of the other buildings have metal roofing. So I think, if we can get a couple lucky breaks, we'll stay in budget.
We'll see. We'll have a public hearing on that whole project, the main demo and soil remediation on April 2nd. Bids were originally supposed to be awarded then, but we are going to have to move the bids back 2 weeks and be done separately from that at the second council meeting in the month. We had some contractors who just requested some additional time to get bids prepped and and given that we want to make sure that we get the best pricing available, we're not under a time constraint, we are going to adjust that prior to getting those bids in.
Anything else on that one?
Public Works Committee going to meet at some point?
We have a meeting set for March 31st at 9 a.m. here at City Hall.
And that subcommittee, you're planning on having them meet on an ongoing basis too?
Quarterly, yep.
Okay. And you're going to be talking about mainly your street plan, or what is it you're
We're
looking
gonna
at?
go over the current 2 projects, get some recommendations for the mill and fills that we budgeted for next year on what streets we'd like to see with that. Do a rail bridge update, which we have a meeting with them
On Monday.
next Monday. Mowing update, and then might talk about some park stuff. That's, I think, everything on the agenda.
Okay. And then Finance Committee is scheduled to meet next Wednesday afternoon, I think at 1:30, go over health insurance.
That is the agenda we're going to be going over. Yep, yep.
That's just suggestions, that's not,
The
not locked into them, are we?
Bel Air and South 10th are
Yeah,
locked in.
Them two, yes. but
Yes.
I'm talking about the ones below that.
Right, those are not locked in yet, no.
Okay.
Any other department reports?
One other thing, I sent out RFQs for engineers for the public safety roof. That estimate is, the project's definitely gonna be over the state threshold to where we can't bid it ourselves. We have to hire an engineer to do the design and construction plans and bidding for that. So that went out today. Their proposals are due back April 7th. And we'll be coming on the 16th to hopefully hire an engineer for that project.
We are also continuing to work on what to do with the SID Center. So just to let you know, we do have some potential options to look at, and I am hopeful that you'll have something that comes to the council for consideration here with initial steps for consideration in the next month of a potential redevelopment at that site. We'll see if that really follows through, but I just want to let you know, we have had some efforts. The state has actually been involved in trying to help us with that, as well as the Southeast Iowa Regional Planning Council. So just be looking for something to come forward on that.
Any other report? Hearing none, there's really no new business, so that needs to be struck. And then we're down to a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We're adjourned.
Having fun now.